Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another episode of Daily Palantir, and folks, we've got a lot of news to discuss in the world of Palantir. Now, last week, I was gone for a few days because I was at Palantir's end-of-year pre-event. I got invited to go to the event, cover the event. If you followed me on Twitter, you saw all of the live posts and videos and all that stuff. And at the end of this video, they actually uploaded Alex Karp's opening remarks for 5 minutes, so I'm going to put that at the end of this video for those that want to watch that. But it was a really good event, and I got to talk to a lot of customers, lots of employees, got to just get a better understanding of the company as I was there covering the event in person. Now, since that event, we also got a pretty decent amount of updates in regards to new deals. We got a partnership with Shield AI. We got a partnership with Booz Allen Hamilton. We got a partnership with Anduril. So we got a lot of different partners, a lot of different people that are wanting to work with Palantir. And in this video, kind of the theme of this episode, I think, is going to be talking about why everyone wants to work with Palantir and what are the implications of all these different partnerships and deals moving forward going into 2025. Along with that, the stock hit a high of 82.70. Absolutely amazing. We are back down in that $70 range, but it was nice to see the stock get to that level, and we'll talk more about stock price action as well on today's episode. Let's get into it. Okay, so first off, let's get into the stock. I mean, look, I think the stock, it goes without saying, obviously has had an incredible year, and it is one of those years where Palantir stock is surprising everybody, including some of the most bullish of bulls, because not many people expected Palantir to get to a, at this point, $162 billion valuation, which is currently what we're seeing right now for Palantir. Now, at 180 or at $82.70, we were actually at a 183 or $84 billion valuation. We were well above the 180 billion mark, which was incredible. But I think all of us knew, even as bulls, all right, maybe that wasn't going to last. And so we were at 82.74 yesterday, came all the way back down to the mid to the low 70, 71. Right now we're at 71.26, down about 1.71% on the day. I think most people thought Palantir might end the year at 35 or 40. The fact that we are 70 is absolutely incredible. And quite frankly, we've been able to hold these higher levels. Even if we were to end the year back into the low 60s, I don't think that's a big deal. And I think a lot of bulls would not blame Alex Karp or leadership or management on stock performance, because most people didn't expect us to even get to these levels. And we actually know that for a fact, because if you look at the SARs, which are the employee stock option agreements that we talked about on Palantir Weekly, those expire at a strike price, essentially, of $70 in 2029. So that's Palantir's financial team basically saying, hey, we kind of think the stock could get to 70 in the next 5 years. I don't think any of them expected it to happen in 2024. Nonetheless, there you go, $71.28. In terms of the upcoming catalyst for stock price, I think the big thing is on Friday. Keep an eye out, and I'll be live when this happens or when this is announced. I don't know if it's in the morning or in the afternoon, but I will be live covering it. NASDAQ inclusion. So Palantir is on the NASDAQ exchange. That's why they switched from the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange, to the NASDAQ. Now it's a question of, can they get included into the ETF? And the ETF I'm talking about is the NASDAQ, which also is the QQQ as a way to kind of track what's going on with the NASDAQ. 520 right now on the QQQ. This is an ETF that has some of the most important companies in the world, and it's heavily diversified in the context of tech. So to just give a quick update on the companies that are expected to get into the QQQ along with Palantir, this is what we're looking at right here. Palantir and MicroStrategy are the big names that people think could probably get included. Along with that, you have Equinix and you have Axon Enterprise. So you have those names right there. And the ones you would imagine would be removed are SMCI, which has had a whole host of troubles over the past couple of weeks, ARM Holdings, Moderna, and Illumina. So if the rebalance actually happens the way that people are thinking it's going to happen, we are going to see Palantir get added, MicroStrategy get added, Axon and Equinix. And again, maybe they choose a couple of these, maybe they choose, all 4 of them. Don't know exactly how they're going to choose them, but I really do think Palantir has a good shot to get in. Are they guaranteed to get in? No, they might not get in, but I think they have a good shot. I think the reason they went to the NASDAQ was because they felt that they would get added into the QQQ, and that just means more institutional buying. So the question for investors is that priced in? I think a lot of stuff is priced in, but then again, it might not be priced in. I mean, we thought S&P inclusion was priced in when it went from like 29 to 34. And then the day of inclusion, I think we went from 34 to 37.50. And then obviously a month after we were in the 40s and then 50s, and now we're here in the 70s. So there is a world in which that is not priced in, and that a lot of ETFs, as soon as Palantir gets rebalanced in, will have to buy even at these elevated levels. And a lot of these institutions, quite frankly, don't care, because we've seen the institutional ownership go up, meaning that the toots are ready to buy and ready to pay a premium and get exposure. However, It could also mean that if Palantir doesn't get in, we potentially see a sell-off, or if they do get in, it's a muted reaction because it's already priced in. So we will find out on Friday. I'll be covering it live, but that is one of the main catalysts for the stock this week, and the stock holding above 70, I think, is a very, very good thing. Okay, so let's get into some of the deals we've been getting for Palantir over the past week, because we've had some pretty exciting stuff to talk about and some pretty interesting things that have happened. So first of all, let's start off with this. Alex Karp was at the Reagan National Defense Forum. Palantir was the diamond sponsor of the event. They were the most valuable defense contractor by market cap at the event as well. And Karp was Karp. He was doing his thing. He was talking. He was speaking. He was dropping truth bombs, money shots, whatever you want to call them. And one of those money shots ended up coming across Elon Musk's feed, and Elon shared it with a caption of "based" to his 200 million followers. These are those 2 minutes for those that didn't see it, and this is what Karp had to say that got Elon's attention.
Americans are the most loving, God-fearing, fair, least discriminatory people on the planet. And they want to know that if you're waking up and thinking about harming American citizens, or if American citizens are taken hostage and kept in dungeons, or if you're a foreign power sending fentanyl to poison our people, something really bad is going to happen to you and your friends and your cousins and your bank account and your mistress and whoever was involved. And you know, when Americans are spending $1 trillion on defense, what I want and what I think my peers want is, why are these people keeping our citizens hostage, torturing our people, attacking our allies, maligning us in what was once called the United Nations, basically a discriminatory institution against anything good? We need to stand up, and those people need to be scared. And that's why this conference is so important, because we have the best products in the world, and we cannot have parity. Our adversaries do not have our moral compunction. If it's even, they will take advantage of our niceness, kindness, our desire to be at home in Nebraska or New Hampshire or wherever we live in our peaceful environments. And they need to wake up scared and go to bed scared. And if you give that to the American people will go back and say, and honestly, probably shouldn't say this is why I thought the Democrats were going to lose the election, why they did, because people want to live in peace. They want to go home. They do not want to hear your woke pagan ideology. They want to know they're safe. And safe means that the other person is scared. That's how you make someone safe. And the average American person understands this. Unfortunately, many of the intellectually captured institutions, funneled and intellectually owned by the Berkeley faculty, do not. And that's what they want. It's sure as hell what I want. And that's what Palantir and all the people in this room, I hope, we're here to serve the American people. And my version of service is the soldiers are happier, the enemies are scared, and Americans go back to enjoying the fact that we're the only one with a real tech scene in this country, and we're going to win everything. That's how I see it.
So there you go. That is Karp being Karp, as we know Karp tends to be. And that got Elon's attention. Elon and Karp, obviously, they are friends. We've seen pictures of them together. And, you know, when I saw that clip and when I saw Elon sharing it, one thing that I also thought was, wait a second. You know, Elon, over the past couple of days, if you guys have been seeing his posts, has been complaining about the government IT infrastructure. The fact that, like, the reason the government can't even be audited is because the computers don't even know where they're spending the money, not spending the money, because the legacy IT infrastructure of the computers is so old. And immediately I'm thinking, okay, wait a second. David Sachs is the new AI czar. We talked about that last week. David Sachs is best friends with Elon. He's best friends with Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, co-founder of Palantir. David Sachs understands software. He runs a venture capital firm that literally only invests in SaaS companies, software as a service companies, which is what Palantir is. He's also disclosed a public position in Palantir stock. He said that on the Olin podcast a couple months ago. You put two and two together, Elon resharing Karp, you know, Karp actually saying he's a fan of Doge on the Fox Business interview last week, and basically saying he thinks Elon's the perfect person for doing it. And then you got JD Vance in the White House, who's buddies with Peter Thiel and David Sachs. You put all of that together, you start to come to the conclusion, wait a second, maybe the government business is going to grow more than expected over the next 4 years. And that could also be a reason. A lot of us are wondering, well, why are the institutions buying the stock? Maybe one of the reasons is because the institutions believe the government growth is going to be substantial. So that was the first thing that happened over the weekend, and I thought that was pretty exciting. Now, we also got a ton of other updates. So let's run through some of the updates we got over the past couple of days. First of all, we got this yesterday, and then we'll go over the deals we got from Friday. Which is a new $37 million extension. So the U.S. Special Operations Command expands contract with Palantir to deliver advanced AI and mission manager capabilities. $37 million, 1-year contract for Palantir. Quote from the press release, "This contract is the result of the trust built over more than a decade of collaboration between our communities and is a reaffirmation of Palantir's longstanding commitment to deliver the most capable and reliable software solutions for the warfighter." If you've been keeping up with Palantir's government contracts over the past couple of years, the U.S. Special Operations Command has been one of the institutions that is part of the government that has given Palantir a decent amount of deals and a decent amount of contracts. It makes sense that they're giving them another 1-year extension, and I expect over the next few years we get many, many more extensions from this agency in particular, because Palantir has been able to deliver really strong results for them. So that's what we got yesterday. And maybe that's kind of a reason why the stock was up a little bit in the pre-markets, but this was one of the big pieces of news that we had, and it was one of the more important pieces of news that we had because we haven't seen like a government deal from a number perspective in a while, and we got that yesterday. Now, this was the big piece of news that we got on Friday, which is Anduril, another new modern defense contractor, partnering with Palantir to accelerate AI capabilities for national security. The partnership will facilitate the flow of national security data from the tactical edge to the cloud-based enterprise. Here is what the PR said. Palantir and Anduril, two leading companies at the intersection of commercial technology and national security, are launching a new consortium to ensure that the U.S. government leads the world in AI. Our goal is to deliver the technological infrastructure from the edge to the enterprise that can enable our government and industry partners to transform America's world-leading AI advancements into next-generation military and national security capabilities. The partnership is focused on solving two main problems that limit the adoption of AI for national security purposes. The first is data readiness. Most useful national security data, government data that are collected and created by sensors, vehicles, weapons, and robots at the tactical edge are not retained for AI training and algorithmic development. And the second thing they talk about throughout the press release is how that data is ultimately going to be implemented across the government. So not just making sure that the data is ready, but then making sure that the data is secure, the data matches all the government requirements, the data is trusted, the data is built on top of platforms that can interact with each other, that are interoperable, but are also safe and secure in regards to cross-functional collaboration across different agencies. Essentially, the way I read that press release was, okay, Palantir, one of the most important software defense contractors that currently exists, and then Anduril, one of the most important hardware defense contractors that has a software advantage, which is why they're winning more deals than Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, because they're simply a more modern defense contracting agency. For them to be able to work together and basically say, we're going to launch this consortium of how we think the world should operate when it comes to AI, technology, and defense, and we're going to execute against that, and we're going to give suggestions and different ways for how the market should interpret what it means for national security to be intertwined with AI capabilities. I thought that was bullish. It's not a new like multi-$100 million contract, but what it is two of the most important defense contractors that, by the way, beat Raytheon for the Titan contract. Palantir and Anduril both, Palantir was the main one that won that contract. Anduril is a subcontractor underneath Palantir for the Titan contract. We beat Raytheon to get that. I believe that was $189 million for 2 years back in February. So Palantir and Anduril working together have shown that they've actually been able to accomplish a decent amount together. And now is just a question of, where they can take that partnership further over the coming decade. Additionally, we got another partnership just hours before the Anduril partnership dropped, which was Palantir and a legacy defense contractor, Booz Allen Hamilton. Booz Allen Hamilton and Palantir jointly announced today a groundbreaking co-creation partnership to accelerate defense mission innovation and help the U.S. maintain superiority against its adversaries. The effort expands collaboration between two industry innovators that recognize the urgent need for agile, field-ready approaches to help the U.S. and its allies, partners communicate and coordinate in a complex global security landscape. The partnership will initially focus on two critical components: driving transformational information infrastructure modernization and secure interoperability, and rapidly accelerating integrated warfighting operations with coalition partners through data-centric systems that improve collaboration and combined mission planning with U.S. allies and partners. I know those are a lot of words kind of put together, but essentially the argument that they're saying right here is that Booz Allen Hamilton does a ton of things for the government, a ton of things for the warfighter. Palantir does a ton of things for the government and a ton of things for the warfighter. How can they work together to create software platforms and infrastructure modernization that actually makes things more efficient in the government? A little bit different from the Anduril partnership in that Palantir and Anduril are working together to kind of come up with new ideas that they can implement within the government, whereas Booz Allen Hamilton and Palantir already have existing platforms that are likely going to be working together as well. CEO Alex Karp said, "We founded Palantir to defend Western society, and we are proud to maximally support our warfighters. To win on the battlefield, the U.S. and its allies must field their greatest assets, superior AI and hardware capability. We're partnering with Booz Allen Hamilton to create a future where AI-infused hardware keeps our allies safe and our enemies scared. Again, similar to how they're working with Anduril. Anduril is a hardware contractor that has a software edge, but Palantir's software platform has worked with Anduril software platform called Lattice in a variety of different contracts already. And I imagine they're also going to be working with Anduril to be able to infuse hardware and software in an effective way. So the point of Booz Allen Hamilton and Anduril, to me, when I saw this on Friday, and I thought it was incredibly interesting, is that Booz Allen Hamilton is a legacy defense contractor. It's one of the biggest ones, but it's a legacy one. Anduril is the fastest growing one, but it's a modern one. Both of them want to work with Palantir. And so it's getting to this point where we're seeing a lot of these different companies say, hey, Palantir has the sauce, and we kind of want to work with that sauce. We want to put that sauce on our pasta, and we want to understand why all these companies find something valuable in Palantir from a defense perspective, AI perspective, national security perspective. From every way you slice it, companies want to work with Palantir. And then on top of Anduril and Booz, you've got another company, Shield AI, that is working with Palantir. Shield AI right here, you can see Karp signing the contract right here with Ryan Taylor, their Chief Revenue Officer, and Shield AI CEO. Shield AI and Palantir have both built technology products proven in the most demanding environments. Our partnership is about bringing together Palantir's software dominance and Shield AI's expertise and autonomy to deliver the next best possible outcomes for customers. It's exciting to scale up what we've been working on together in this chapter of our partnership, and particularly the reason they're working together is because they say we're tackling some of the toughest challenges in defense: large-scale command and control of autonomous systems in GPS and communication-denied environments. Again, for the battlefield, for the warfighter, Anduril, Booz Allen Hamilton, Shield AI, whatever company that's out there that thinks they can offer some value working with Palantir is wanting to work with Palantir. And then speaking of companies that kind of want to work with Palantir, there's also a lot of companies like startups that want to be like Palantir. Here's a segment from CNBC yesterday where they talked about Palantir, and I thought it was very interesting what they said about different startups and their quest to be the next Palantir.
Palantir announcing a partnership with the defense tech startup Anduril today with the goal of ensuring America leads the AI race, and that's also a focus of Silicon Valley in the new year. Deirdre Bosa has more on that in today's Tech Check. Morning, Dee.
Hey, good morning, Carl. So a pair of notes from here on the ground are making the rounds in tech at the moment that look to government and defense as themes at the earliest stages of the investment cycle that will continue to win next year as Silicon Valley's influence in the next administration only grows. Now, the first is Y Combinator's request for startups in 2025. It lists government software as its first idea. It reads, "It's hard to think of something that sounds less appealing as a place to look for startup ideas than the government, but if you're up for digging in that space, we'd love to hear from you." And the second one is VC firm Andreessen Horowitz's list of big ideas in tech for 2025. It puts American dynamism at the very top and argues that, quote, "We must invest in technologies that enable rapid force projection, energy, space, and AI advancements can all play a critical role in hardening our capabilities against our international rivals." Now, it certainly helps that Palantir is one of the most successful Silicon Valley stories of the last few years. As Y Combinator notes, it's one of the only startups that has managed to figure out selling software to the government. At its IPO in 2020, it was valued at about $20 billion. Today, that is well over $160 billion. In fact, I was at an event here in San Francisco last week, and 3 separate founders described their startups to me as the Palantir of X. For a long time, it was the Uber of X, but at least anecdotally, it feels like the narrative is shifting, and Silicon Valley's ethos of innovation, it's now converging with Washington's priorities.
So this to me I thought was really interesting. I mean, when she said that startup founders are referring to themselves as the Palantir of X, I mean, that just goes to show you that a company that was once hated, that was once thought couldn't scale, is now exactly in the right place you want to be, which is national defense, Western values. You got all these VC firms like Y Combinator and Andreessen Horowitz actually saying, we want to find the next Palantir or Anduril. We want to find the next big defense company because that is cool. It's actually okay to like defend freedoms and things of that nature. And then you got startups saying, yeah, we're the Palantir of X, which is a hell of a compliment because, you know, for so long it was the DoorDash of X or the Airbnb of X or the Uber of X. But now it's like Palantir is the North Star. We want to live up to Palantir. And so we would think of ourselves as the Palantir of X. And so I think all of that together culminates, in the context of investors. What should investors be thinking of this as a company that is really hitting their stride? They've got to keep continuing the growth, but the entire narrative on Palantir is changing from 2 years ago. And if you were part of this community a couple years ago, you know what the narrative was like. That narrative is changing. That narrative is becoming very, very different, and it's just really exciting to kind of see all of that play out. Last thing on today's show, I'm going to share a video of Alex Karp, but before I do that, and this is him talking at the pre-event for those that weren't there to see it, the video was posted yesterday. I did indeed get to see Mr. Karp once again. It was our 4th picture this year. I'm incredibly, incredibly blessed that I got a chance to see him 4 times this year, and it was really cool. The story, for those that haven't heard it, I talked about it in my Market Open, but he was across the room. I was, talking to someone. I didn't want to make it seem like I was, staring at him, or it's kind of hard not to look. And then he came over and he yelled my name across when he was like 10 feet away. He was 50 feet away. Then he started walking up. I acted like I didn't see him or anything. I was trying to be nonchalant. And then he was like, Amit, you're here. Now the party can get started. And it was just really cool. It was really cool when he said that, because you could tell he genuinely was excited, that there was some retail exposure to this event, and it wasn't just like a regular event, but it was someone who was there, who's been part of the community for a while, who was able to take pictures and capture moments. And I was able to find Akshay and Ted, it was the global head of commercial, and Ryan Taylor, the CRO, like all these different people that were part of Palantir. And I was just able to put it on Twitter and post all these pictures and stuff. And I think Karp likes that, just because it's giving back to the community. He knows how much the community cares about Palantir. He knows how much you guys have supported the company, supported the mission. And, I got to talk to him for 5 minutes, and he was just really happy I was at the event. And I was happy I got invited to the event to cover the company. But I think he enjoys the process. I will say one thing. I've spoken to him 4 times this year in person, which has been an absolute dream come true. Shout out to Iliano and Chad. These guys, you guys know them if you're in the community. They've made that possible. They made that happen, which means the world to me, and I'm incredibly blessed. But this was the happiest I've seen him. Was the happiest I've seen him. So this was the picture we just took a week ago. This was the video we took after they got into the S&P 500. This was the event AIPCon in June, I think. And then this was the first picture in May when we got to see each other. So Karp has been, just amazing over the past year. Obviously, he has innovated and he's turned this entire company around. But this was the happiest I've ever seen him. And I mean, like, how can you not be happy, right? The stock's like at an all-time high. The valuation of the company is more than what you probably thought it would get to in 2024 by leaps and bounds. Everyone in the world wants to cover you. The media cares about you. You got Elon sharing your videos. You get I think this is what you work your entire life for, this moment. You work so damn hard for this moment, being in this situation where the entire world is recognizing who you are. And, from my understanding, he's always been grateful that retail understood the company when the company was in the dumpster fires, right, at $6-8. And I think that's why he was genuinely happy to see me. It wasn't this performative, oh, let me go say hi to Amit. It was more so, because Karp's just not like that, dude. He's just too authentic. If he doesn't want to talk to you, he's not going to talk to you. It's just like, this guy, he's going to give it to you straight. And the fact that, he was excited to see me and just excited that I was at the event, I think it speaks to the fact that he knows I am kind of a metaphor for all of us, essentially, that have been believing in this story for the better part of 3.5 years now. And we believed when, Wall Street didn't believe. And for that reason, because we bought at 7, the money managers have to buy it at 75. And it is pretty damn incredible to see that evolution play out. I think that gives Karp so much joy that retail average people with 9-to-5s, nurses, policemen bought this stock at $8, $9, $10, and now money managers have to buy it at $50, $60, $70. And it's just an incredible story. And I wish them the best of luck to keep executing, keep continuing. And retail has been here for a long time, and that's why it's been fun to follow out this journey. And the last thing I will say is that, and I've said this many times, but the biggest thing Palantir will give us all over the course of this journey, which I think, has many years left in it, is not the money and not the gains. That's amazing. That's awesome. But it's the friendships. I've made so many friends because of Palantir, so many really close people I've met just because of covering this company. And that matters more to me than anything, because, the relationships at the end of the day are why you even engage in the process of living life, to actually have good friends and family that you want to spend time with. So amazing event, amazing year for Palantir. Thank you everybody for listening and watching. Here is what Alex Karp had to say in his opening remarks at the Prix. Thank you everybody for being here. I'll see you guys in the next one.
I got to admit, it's, the way the dynamic of Palantir usually works
is I get a lot of love on the outside, but on the inside, it's like merciless beating and humiliation. However, currently I'm getting love on the inside. So I'm enjoying this. It's the nice warmth on the inside, some nice warmth. I can occasionally be right. And at Palantir, we have a tradition. I provide a proclamation of truth, and 1% of the company rage quits. But currently, we even have the rage quitting under control. So these are joyous times for us, and happy holidays. I have something, it's not well formed, so excuse me if it's not intelligible, that I've been thinking a lot about. So we went through a phase, actually AI really began on the battlefield with Project Maven. It was using algorithms and compute. It's really changed the history of the world. That story wasn't told. I honestly begged the Defense Department to talk about it because we all wonder where the dollars are being spent. And so, something really powerful and cool and scary is better. I think it's great, but even if you don't think it's great, it looks very valuable. That story didn't get told. And so then we got this first phase of the large language model, and we're super impressed that something that looks software-ish can do anything. And that created a stampede of people, doing science experiments. I'm trying to be a little less vulgar now that we're a real company, but internally we tended to compare that to the social lives of many Palantirians. Virtual, unpleasant, with no result, and it's humiliating. Without going into vulgar details, you get the picture. And then, we were using this obnoxious word that now has become part of everyone's vocabulary and being copied by the name, not the product, by vast enterprise software companies of yesteryear. But then slowly and now increasingly, there's a realization that if you want to move from social life of the kind of person who gets in here to actual coolness, you need something like an ontology to, get the motion to work in the ocean, basically. So you begin to see this, and obviously super grateful that everyone is here and you're seeing it. But I think that's now we're beginning to see it's useful. But then you can ask, what is the meaning of that usefulness? And I think the reason why I'm so bullish on our company and yours, and actually our nation right now, is what makes Palantir internally, organizationally so special, and the reason why so many of the great people you'll meet in the world are either here or in others were here, is we constantly focused on what is the core principle the enterprise should be. So the government has one customer, is one buyer, so people typically go to the government, and then they just, the government says, build me a space machine, tell me I'm smart. And everyone says, yes, space machine's coming, $2 billion, and you're smart. And Palantir, we were like, yeah, we're just not doing that. We're going to build you the product you should have, not the product you've asked for, not the product you say you'll give us money for, the product you should have. And what is that? It's like taking an institution back to its essential core. So, it's like, people don't have to agree with this, but it's like, what is a country? A country has a border. What is an educational institution? You learn something. What is a military thing? We hurt our adversaries and make us safer. What does an enterprise do? It produces something valuable where it's produced so the customer gets more value and you get more value. That's the nature of a business. All enterprises in the world have been built up on that core idea, but it gets divergent. So it's like, I think that's where the world is going to go. And you're on the front of doing it, and I believe we can help you transform your company into its core existence and then extend that core existence into the market in a more efficient and better way and safer way. And that's what we're doing here. And, again, the basic ontology foundry and whatever large language model you choose to use will help you do that. And it's a really cool ride. Very happy you're here. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever holiday you celebrate. I think it's a pretty joyous time. we're rocking here in America and enjoying it. Glad to have you here. Thanks for being here. Thank you.